And we are now live.
Good morning. This is Senate Health and Welfare. It is Friday, March 31st. And have a great day tomorrow on April 1st. So we're going to start out this morning talking about our gubernatorial appointments. And I think some of us have made contact and have recommendations to make to the full committee for appointments. All right. Turn it over to you, Senator Weeks.
Process question. So after we contact our nominees for a report, what's the process? We come back here, brief the committee votes, then we move to the floor.
Yes.
That person who contacted that individual reports on the floor.
Yeah.
Are they all reported or on the floor?
The only ones that get reported on the floor are the secretaries, the commissioners. I think, are they also deputy commissioners? But it's commissioners, secretaries, and then major board members like the Green Mountain Care Board. And if it were natural, we don't have natural resources.
Yeah, I don't think deputy commissioners we do.
Yeah, we don't do them. do
Yeah.
we? Yeah. So it's just commissioners and secretaries. They're the ones that are underlined on the calendar and get reported. Remember every time.
Next Wednesday is our field trip.
Yeah.
Yes,
That's the first day of Passover.
Oh.
and I'm gonna try to switch cars with my husband, so we have a big car for everybody. We'll talk later.
Yeah, okay, so Senator Weeks, why don't you guide us through this process?
Yeah. So today, I believe I'll be reporting on the floor in regards to Dr. Merman.
Probably not today.
No. Okay.
We'll probably do it next week because we have a lot of things to get through on the floor. So we'll just wait and do appointments
Okay.
next week.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
Okay,
So
excellent.
It's easy. And then, so again, to report on the floor, Senator Lyons, you have one of the chairs, David Filbert, for the Board of Health. I think he's the only chair.
Right.
You went through a number of different positions that must be reported to the floor.
Right,
And that's the only one.
he would probably be underlined, yeah.
Okay, so at this point, given the chair's kind of guidance, hopefully everybody's at least reached out to their people and then started the contacts so that we can roll up the nomination effort. Do you have a target, ma'am, for
When we want to finish this, I think we'd like to finish all of these within, by 2 weeks from today.
Yeah, that would be.
I know this is
Good.
one of those things that just hangs over and you always have to find time and people have to get back to you. So let's say 2 weeks from today and then.
But just for clarity's sake, when you talk about reaching out to these folks, it's simply, are you still interested in this?
Yeah, if
No.
we're interested, what do you bring, if they're already on the board or the organization, do you want to be reappointed?
Right,
Yeah, and then what has been their experience?
okay,
I do a little bit more than that. I mean, frankly, I just want to make sure that they are qualified for it and there are no red flags on the person. I do a Google search
Okay.
and see what I come up with, you
Okay.
know? And I ask for their resume
okay,
and then I spend, time talking to them on the phone
Yeah.
and really talk through, what is the position? If sometimes it's a board or a commission I don't really know anything about. So I try to
Right.
figure out what do they do and do they seem like a person we want on those positions?
okay,
Some of these have more power than we think, or do things that, you don't want.
right. Okay, no,
So
that's helpful.
We're not gonna ask to have them zoom in so we can.
No,
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 just
there's
the-
too many of them.
the
And
three that we've
yeah.
already done.
I know, and honestly, the first time you do this, I think Senator Hardy's comments are really good ones to follow through. All the people I'm interviewing are people I know.
Oh, okay,
So I've been
yeah, I don't
familiar
know,
with.
I don't know any people, but I have emailed all of them. So can you repeat which ones will be brought to the floor?
Only one more. So what, Dr. Merman, which I'll take care of.
These three,
And then this one here, the chair of the,
David
That's it.
Silver, yeah.
okay,
we're communicating.
Got it. Okay, great, thanks.
So, not an onerous task, but
No,
everything.
Do you want to see if anyone has any?
Well, I think that Senator Hardy's feedback was constructive to guide, kind of help us.
No, I mean, does anyone have a recommendation for any of the folks
Oh.
that reached out?
I do not at this
Okay.
point. I've arranged the calls, but
Yeah,
for
okay.
next week.
All right, so if that's the case, then we'll hold off and we'll just do them all.
So next update, I think we tentatively schedule into next Friday. So,
If we can get an update next week, that would be good.
yeah, so we're kind of looking for,
Target next week and then see what happens.
so that's like the midpoint to the end point.
Yeah.
Which is important.
I just sent you his, again, it was, Dr. Yeah, Clattenburg. Richard Clattenburg. is on the board.
Okay, yeah, and so some of as Senator Hardy said, and it's quite accurate, some of these boards have significant responsibility in decision-making. So if you have someone on the Human Services Board, you may want to talk a little bit longer with them
Yeah.
about the type of decisions they're making and what their background is to make those decisions, their familiarity with issues on the board. That is a big deal.
Yeah, last year I had the chair of that board.
Yeah.
It's also really helpful for us to learn about what these boards and commissions do and how, especially in our area of jurisdiction. Yeah.
So if I can retouch Senator Williams' comment about Dr.
Clattenburg.
Feinberg, are you ready to brief us?
I haven't talked to him.
Oh, okay.
All I did was get a response from my email.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
He answered some questions
Yes,
that I forwarded to him.
I do recommend you have a conversation.
Yeah,
The email summary is good, but
Yeah.
it was pretty limited.
okay.
Apply the personal touch to it.
So along the lines of our responsibilities for confirmation, at 9:30, we have Jenny Samuelson coming in, who has been appointed Secretary of the Agency of Human Services. So between now and, it's been on our agenda, but think of questions that you might like to ask.
Good.
In terms of the other things that we'll be doing, we have a lot of H bills on our wall. There are some that are going to be a little less complicated, and some I think that have, the House has really looked at these significantly. My goal is, as we're putting them on the agenda, so I would like us to act with some efficiency around the compact, so we'll get folks in, talk about compacts. And did you want to go further on the nominations? No, okay. We'll talk about the compacts, and I think each of you has a compact bill. And then on H-190, that's a bill that I'm particularly interested in getting testimony and thinking about. That's the end-of-life choices. And then H-171, which is a little more complicated. So and then when we get 222, we'll work on that one. And there are some things that are being added into 222, and we may have some things that we'd also like to add. I've had requests from folks about issues that I think relate, and we'll try to get testimony on those things. So that's where we are.
clarifying question. The compact bills, we'll be speaking to them on the floor
Yes.
ultimately. Okay.
Yes, yeah, so that'll be your assignment. So and so you saw what they're like, and there's not a lot of diversity. No, so familiarize yourself with what the specific profession is, and then, so there are different levels of each of these things.
Right, so I'm assuming that a lot of our colleagues don't necessarily understand what a compact is or don't know much about compacts. So I'm wondering, well, can one of us just kind of give a general overview of how a compact works, and then each of us can just like do our niche? Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, do that.
Whoever leads.
Yeah, whoever leads.
Yeah, okay.
So you're leading?
I did not say that.
Whoever leads, I think, we've been through compacts before, but a lot of the newer senators haven't been through it. And so there are some questions about where the leadership is for compacts. How many members do we have representing each of these compacts? Is there one for each? Do we have one central office? How do they meet? All of that stuff. So we'll try to sort that in here
Okay,
a little bit.
great, thank you.
Good question.
Can we jump back to nominations just for a
Yes.
second? So Senator Gulick brought up a good point. So one of the people that is nominated is now moving out of state, and I believe another one is deceased. We found that, I think.
That could be a
Alex-
problem.
Right, so.
What do we do?
Right,
We tell Alex contacts the governor's office and lets the governor's office that the people they have nominated, A, are no longer in the state, and B, no longer alive. And then the governor's office will have to make a decision as to how to proceed. So
Wow.
it indicates something about how these,
Oh, yeah,
these names are.
Yeah, so that's why we do this.
Right.
That's why we do our
This is
due
the
diligence.
first that I've heard though, that somebody.
Alex, did I let
That's
you
not
know?
the first time.
And the nerve
do it
did not
again.
tell us he died, you know?
Darn
you
him.
want the original letter?
Yes.
Well, then I guess that makes your list shorter. Do you want a couple of mine?
No, that's her. So, yeah, we can
Not
pile. we
mine.
can
Well,
pile
one
on.
of mine, one of them is mine. I don't know about the.
Yeah, we'll go back to that.
Yeah, okay, but that's the process. It really, this is the governor's recommendation for appointments. And our role is to validate those in some way.
I have a bill in my other committee that is getting rid of a bunch of boards and commissions, so.
We did that a few years ago.
Yeah, we do it every once in a while, because some of them no
Okay.
longer are
Do you want me to
relevant.
CC you?
Anything
CC you
else
too.
on that, on the appointments? That was a good thing. And if you find someone who really isn't interested, then the same process, bring it back, tell Senator Weeks, and he'll let Alex know and get it to the governor. Governor's office, yeah. I mean, there are a lot of people around the state who are volunteers or are appointed for some small amount of money to serve on boards. It's just like the local level. The whole state is a volunteer state.
Mhm.
It's like the legislature.
Tennessee,
Huh?
that's Tennessee.
Yeah. Okay, anything else on that? So we're finalizing our agenda for next week. We will be on the floor a little bit on Tuesday, and we probably will be looking at S25 on the floor on Tuesday. And then we will be doing our field trip on Wednesday, and then following through and up with various bills. I'm going to try to move with alacrity on the bills. On Friday, we're going to be looking at budget information. So I haven't yet invited, have you invited Stephanie in or Joint Fiscal in just to walk us through some of the budget pieces?
I have not, but I can.
Okay, we can do that. And then we'll be looking at some of the things that people feel were left out or not as well funded. And there are some that are of concern. So that'll be next Friday. We're not doing the whole budget appropriations process and interview. We're going to just give everybody about 5 minutes, tell us the problem, and then after that, we'll be able to have a discussion and talk about any recommendations we would like to make down the hall. And obviously, the bills that we have sent out become our priorities in one way or another. And the compact bills do have a fiscal note, each one. And Nolan shared with me sort of what has happened in the House for the three bills that we have, three of the bills that we have. So there's a total 24 and 25, there's 104,000 based on that's benefit. That's the revenue. Revenue is 26,800. So there are fiscal notes to go along that we'll get a final fiscal note after we look at the bills. That's it. Okay. We'll take a 5-minute break. We can go off live unless something else. Good. And I do want us to look at the letter to the federal delegation and talk with Jen a little bit about